So good. That curb stairs, the door was locked.
I saw you out there.
These are mighty good right here.
I hate to go get this whole video, but.
There you go.
You need one of those, they're very light.
They look a little dry and
No, they melt your mouth. Miss Mary,
Dark crumbling,
do what?
they're crumbling. But they're good.
We're still waiting for a telephone. Jill has in her binder that she's looking for something. Well, at least maybe we got the top of the stairs up.
Stephen calling in.
they are rich though.
Looks like there's a lot of butter in here.
Oh, they'll, talking about good, you want fruit.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll like it better. Love it. Yeah.
Just keep playing games.
Hi, Miss Kay. How are you? Good? How are you? Very good. Since the cookie. Sugar cookie. You need one of those. I know.
Brandy just sent you that. I'm out of way.
That's just the greatest call they've had our policy.
signature your action, followed by a pound or hash sign. Signature your action, followed by the pound or hash sign. If you do not have a PIN, just press pound or hash. This conference will now be recorded.
Good morning.
Morning, this is Stephen.
Good morning, Stephen. All right. Anybody else on the line joining us via conference call? Okay. We have a quorum. This is a budget workshop, or a workshop rather, for the purpose of discussing just some codes and dates pertaining to our fiscal year 2021 budget workshop. So that's the purpose of this call, or this meeting. And this meeting has been duly called in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. And as mentioned, the quorum is present. With that being said, we have a standing requirement for the court. Should anybody wish to address those comments, has anyone notified your office? Okay, so we've satisfied that, and we're now ready to move on. You may recall several weeks ago, I had a workshop with you to just explain what I had started on last year, a little bit later than this time frame. But I want to review with you what I'm attempting to follow as it would pertain to the local government code. And this is in regard to the budget preparation for counties less than 25,000 population. Under section 111.002, the county judge is the budget officer, and during the 7th or the 10th month of the fiscal year determined by the Commissioners Court, county judge assisted with the auditor or county clerk shall prepare a budget to cover all proposed expenditures of county government for the succeeding fiscal year. Then in 111.04, it just references the county judge shall itemize the budget to allow as clear a comparison as practical between the expenditures included in the proposed budget and the actual expenditures for the same or similar purpose that were made for the preceding fiscal year. So, and it has several things as far as the complete financial statement, outstanding obligations, cash on hand, all sources of revenue, and estimated tax requirements. It goes on to say that county judge may require any officer to furnish existing information. And it goes on to public inspection. County judge has completed, when the county judge completed the preparation of the budget, he shall file a copy with the proposed budget with the county clerk. And let's see, one other thing. Then it goes into the public notice and regarding the state of date, time, and location of any hearings and the type of size of people or any other items in the notification gives a parameter for that. So here's where we are. On the 30th of July, I filed with Donese the proposed 2021 budget. So a copy is actually online, and so we've met all of those requirements. And as I began to try to work through this process, there were some driving documents that kept referring to try to figure out, because never really done this in the last 13 and a half years like this, but yet had an attempt to try to fulfill this. I'm attempting to do that. Hello, Wayne. How are you? Morning, Sheriff. Hey, morning. And so there were some things that started coming to my mind, since we do have something that are proposed. And here's the big picture perspective, is it's just a proposal. I've satisfied what my responsibility is as best I understand it at this point. And I want to give you a little bit of some background as far as how I came to this. Again, it's just a proposal. It's just my best effort to present to you the suggestion about the direction we should go. Here are some driving parts of this, is why are we here? The why that we're here is to fulfill the constitutional and statutory requirements that each official has, and to do it in such a way that respects the taxpayer, not only for what we're imposing on them as far as taxation, but also internally what we need with each other. In other words, working through various types of requests during the course of the year. Everything should be filtered through the eyes of the taxpayer. And that came about because my personal taxes have they've more than doubled over the last couple of years. And they're going up 10% this year if we keep the exact same keep the exact same budget. I'll still incur an expense. And so at what point do we begin to have a conversation internally as to how to address it? The court has the legal authority to impose taxes on the property owners. And it's just the five of us that have that power. And, through the years, you and I have worked together for 11 or so years now, coming up on 12 this year. And so we've enjoyed some very pleasant years to where we had some luxuries. We're moving into a time frame that what I'm observing, gentlemen, is that it's very challenging. And COVID has had probably one of the most significant impacts upon us that I've observed in these last 13 and a half years of being here. Several months ago, Mr. Luther had asked if we could use the Commissioner's Courtroom downstairs as a meeting place because there were some questions with the school districts and the cities, and they wanted to have an understanding of what his estimated values were, because specifically Warren was looking at a potential loss of about $300,000 to $400,000 on something that they couldn't control. So we hosted it, and at that time, he shared with us that there was 27.7% potential loss in just the oil and gas revenue category. Didn't know how that was going to bed itself out. I asked Kay to help me over time to get an understanding, so she began to do some research and calculated that particular category could impact us up to about 3.99, we just rounded it to 4% of a loss of deficit. That would equate out at $1 billion of roughly about $400,000. So to levy that much more tax on that potential loss, then we would have to look at making a tax increase. As we all know, Senate Bill 2 is being imposed upon us. And fortunately, this round, we can draw a pass on it, but next year we're going to have to take a more serious level of approach with the implications of Senate Bill 2. Mr. Luther, on the 25th, sent a certified letter of the values that he certified to us. Mike, your own appraisal boards probably knew this, maybe even before us. So what it showed for Tyler County was a 0.5% increase to the total values. So it was like a moment in that we might be able to get a buy this year and just be able to stabilize without hopefully any tax increase. There's a lot of uncertainty in the financial market, and if we calculated what our collection rate would be, the Senate bill is driving us to do that, to get as close to a margin of the reality of it. We've done it in years past to where we would underestimate the value of the increase in hopes that we would realize more. And we've enjoyed that for a number of years. But Senate Bill 2 is forcing us to do this. So this is a year that we're going to exercise that. Sales tax may possibly be impacted. We estimated some $600,000 in sales tax revenue last year. We realized $770,000. So we had a significant gain over what our projection was. There may be a period of time because of what's going on that people may find themselves unable to pay for their taxes. We don't know that yet, but with as much uncertainty in the financial market as there is, just incomes and things of that nature, we may possibly see a downturn on that side. The law and code is driving most everything, not everything, most everything, it's driving everything that we're doing. And I want to read to you just some things in Kay, I think, brought some items for us to look at. We've met the April 30th deadline, we've met the July 25th deadline, we've met the July 30th deadline, and then we're now at the August 1st, which is on the first page on the left hand at the very bottom. It says the tax assessor collector must submit the appraisal roll for the taxing unit with the total appraised assessed and taxable value of all property and the total taxable value of new property to the commissioner's court. So we're awaiting that right now. If you go to the next column on the right, it says the taxing unit's collector is certified the anticipated collection rate for the current year. And we will await that from Lynette. And something I want to call to your attention is if the collector certified an anticipated collection rate in the preceding year and the actual collection rate in that year exceeded the anticipated rate, the collector must also certify the amount of debt taxes collected in excess of the anticipated amount in the preceding year according to the tax code. If the anticipated collection rate of the taxing unit is lower than the lowest actual collection rate of the taxing unit for any of the preceding 3 years, the anticipated collection rate of the taxing unit for purposes of this section is equal to the lowest actual collection rate of the taxing unit for any of the preceding 3 years. I have talked with Lynette on the phone several times. As you know, Jackie can certainly appreciate the explaining he went through his heart surgical procedure. He's home doing well, but that's been an interruption that they've experienced. And speaking of who, here she is. We were just talking about you, Lynette.
I know it.
Yeah.
I could tell, no.
Kate, do we have any extras we can give Lynette? We'll give you a second to get oriented with us here. He's doing really well.
Yes, it does.
Okay. Hi, Martin. Martin, if you want to participate, unmute your line. Thank you. Lynette, we are on this page and we're at the bottom left-hand corner where it says by August 1st or as soon as practical after the tax assessor collector must submit. I just read that entire section there. You typically calculate that and we will await that so we'll know what the no new revenue tax rate, formerly known as what? The effective rate. We're going to have to go through the learning curve to try to figure out how to talk a different language, even though the meaning is exactly the same. So, do you have any thoughts as far as what you want to try to prepare for that time frame for us? Or the old effective rates and roll back? Okay. We're doing good on time, but it is something that will drive based on what kind of a rate it will actually be levied in order to meet last year's same amount of money generated. And then if we go beyond that.
So the time I've got on my numbers, 60 days is October the 3rd. So we've got just a couple of days and that's the 30th of September.
Okay.
It says September
Yeah, I calculated that, that's at the bottom left on the second page, and it shows, before the latter of September 30th or the 60th day after the date of certified appraisal roll is received.
That's when I got it, it's third of October.
Okay. Good. I calculated that, and if you will, just check to be sure, and I'm not confident that I'm exact on this, but I showed that it was the 25th of September because I went for the, before, it says before the latter of September 30th or 60th day after the date the certified roll is received. So
Yeah.
if you will, just,
When I got it, it's the 60 days. I don't really, really, get it, other, families get it, it's, because everybody gets it at different times. But when I got it,
sure,
60 days is
it's the 30th of October.
it's the third of October.
3rd of October, okay, good. If you'll turn to that next page and look at the bottom, the Commissioners Court wishes to adopt a tax rate that exceeds the voter approval rate. And again, if I calculated it correctly, it looks like it's the 71st day before the November election. And so that's according to the tax code. It looked like that was the 24th of August. Now, the purpose of those days was just to give us some conversation as to hearings, any type of hearings, any kind of workshops that you'd want to schedule based upon our work. So here we are at the, 10th or 11th today? The 10th. So if it is the 24th of August, and I'm not saying that I'm confident that it is, but if it is, then we've got about 14 days that we could do some budget workshops. Now, that does take us to the initial conversation. Donese did come over and do a conversation regarding her budget for this next year, and then her budget will satisfy her request. But she was the only one that had a request to sit down and do a conversation for the proposed budget. Okay, so that's going to take us down to the shift in budget for Senate Bill 2. We talked about that, the transition of the complexion of the court in January. We will go to Joe coming into the court. Obviously, for Buck and Stephen. Stephen's been in county government for a number of years, but that'll make 60% of the 4 members of the commissioners group who will have 2 years or 2 years and a day, because it will be in January, for the shift in the complexion of the court. All right, stability versus change. Over time, gentlemen, I've observed that we've been through a lot. This year is probably the worst year for disruption. There seems to be some dismantling of some things that we've experienced. There seems to be some, I think probably disruption is the best word, of how we have lived life, how we've known county government, at least as long as I've been on the court. And it's created a lot of anxiety in every area. The proposed budget for the no increases in the salaries and allowances, there's some shifting of some monies in here. I'll be glad to address that with you, but no new money is what it seemed like because of what we were anticipating that might possibly have a loss in revenue. But thankfully, and I don't know this confidently, Mike, if you are aware of it from y'all's discussions on the appraisal review board, but the 10% increase in value may have helped to mitigate that loss that was lost in our oil and gas revenues. I don't know that, but I know that it personally, I'm realizing it as a taxpayer because I'm seeing that additional increase in value of 10%. And it'll continue for several more years before it hits a stable place. So with all of that disruption, uncertainty, unknown, it seemed like if we could just stabilize the functions of county government and see what the rest of this year holds. There's a lot of prognostication out there on the part of many different voices who believe that we might possibly have some more significant interruption due to COVID in the fall. We were not actually seeing the wave that we've been experiencing during these summer months. All of the historical trends that we've looked at shows that you have that first wave, you have 3 peaks, then you have a downturn, and then you start getting the peaks to coming again. And that's what we have been trying to use as models in preparing to move forward with that. But this summertime, as y'all well know, the numbers have absolutely exploded. As a matter of fact, Ken was in this morning and was briefing me. There's 2 school districts that have had some significant interruptions, with Warren being one of them. And was it Woodville? But it was 2 of them. And so just the administrative office at Warren is in a shutdown posture right now with the offices that are there. So we don't have any idea of how to gauge this thing, other than just like we have, just evaluate the information whenever it comes up. So what is our appetite for what we do? Again, realizing that our customer, our true customer, has no competition. They can't go anywhere to get their road work done, to satisfy that, can't go anywhere else to get any other either constitutional or statutory services that is delivered only through county government. We're in. And are we delivering that to the level that they are satisfied? Is their expectation being met? And obviously the purpose is trying to get enough human resources and enough equipment and then just enough stability to be able to deliver that. The fund balances seem to be strong still, according to the audit that we had presented by Bill Harris Pahachic. We're still good in that arena. The cost of personnel, I was just running some numbers over the weekend and in the last couple of weeks, figuring out for every dollar we pay for every part-time position, the minimum impact is we have to raise 21% more, or $1.21 for every part-time dollar that we pay in payroll. Because obviously, if it's a full part-time, we have to make the contribution to the retirement, which is 14, and then you got the 7.65, which is just the federal government side of that we have. When you calculate that, in contrast to the full-time positions, I mean, we've got basically 3 weeks of holidays that we enjoy. If you borrow 1 day from bereavement, that makes 15 days. For an employee who has less than 5 years with the county, they get 2 weeks of paid holidays, so you got 5 weeks. They get 2 weeks of sick, and then if they're over 5 years, then they get a 3rd week of vacation. So we have 8 weeks, which is all 2 months, and 2 days worth of total benefits for employees that are great. So we lose those potential days for productivity in the office space itself. So that's a significant value. Our insurance is $9,050 per employee, full-time employee, per year. So that's a significant impact. It's $4, and I think it's 24 cents an hour of value to that employee during the course of the year. So how do county expenditures provide services for the customer? We're shifting in that regard. We're starting to do more remote type of services to our clients versus having an office with a door that they can come in and take care of their business. And then that just brings us to why, and again, in my responsibility to y'all, that I put together what I did in the proposal. Now, one of the beauty things about the checks and balances of county government is that I'm not a commissioner. And so in that capacity, I don't have the potential to influence any of my other three in that budgetorial or budget officerial type of responsibility. So I stand as a neutral type of party in that regard. I've never really viewed it like this in the previous years, sought to try to truly understand the responsibility that this is just an item to put out here. Ultimately, it's only going to take three of any combination, either 3 of the 4 commissioners, or 2 commissioners, 1 county judge, or any combination to get us to 3. And that's, I think, probably what we learned in school whenever we first came into the office as far as commissioners. We just learned how to count to 3. So with all of that being said, I felt like that each of you deserved the opportunity to hear why we're at this point. And I think I'm satisfied that I have fulfilled my part of this, put it before you. And then today, if you want to talk about some dates to schedule some budget workshops, or you may have just a totally different budget that you want to just completely go with. We do have it on the agenda. Let me just read it for everybody's benefit. Purpose of the meeting is to review the code and date requirements along with the proposed budget for the fiscal year. So, in reviewing it, and since we are in a workshop, comments, questions, thoughts?
Judge, do we have any idea what the no new tax rate is going to be as far as the value and everything that we've got so far? If we figured it at 100% collection.
Stephen, what I do have is that it's a 0.5% increase in total values according to the certified letter that David Luther had sent to us. So the bottom line impact is we're not any worse than what we were last year, but we're 0.5% better total overall. As far as the actual rate, Lynette will have to do some calculation and then present that back to us to satisfy the exact same budget that we have currently this year, both on the road and bridge as well as the general fund too. Does that help?
Yes, I just want we had any numbers good. And within historically, we have figured at a 94% collection rate.
Correct.
Is that correct? Okay, and so we'll need to figure out what our last 3 years were, and if we can't, we don't have the software to be able to do that or break that down into the debt taxes collected too. If I would be on the safe side, we need to look at 100% collection rate and figure that 100% collection rate to keep from avoiding that tax code 26.04 on the rate. And that can certainly we need to figure that out.
Sure. Well, again, Lynette is going to be working on that and get those numbers to us so that we'll know exactly what we're looking at. It's going to take us a while to transition from effective rate and rollback rate to the no new taxes and voter approval rate. Yeah. So I just felt like, though, Stephen, that just given the total overall disruption that this year has wrought to society, the world itself, that balancing this all out, especially with financing impacts and such that again. But, good question. Any other thoughts?
Yeah, I would like to, if there's any of the elected officials or departments that want to have any concerns or anything about that or whatever, I'm sure we'll hear from them as the governing body if they would like to come before us and speak to us about that.
Sure.
At this workshop or at any future workshop.
Okay. Jackie did alert me to the fact that on the proposed budget, it did not calculate the, what was it, Jackie? The longevity increase on the positions that were already expressed in the current year budget. So we're definitely going to need to make some adjustments in that regard itself.
Well, can I just say something? You know, if you vote to keep the same budget, that's fine, that's what we have. But if the expenses are more, it doesn't matter if you have the same budget, you're still gonna have to be increasing expenses. You know, like insurance doesn't matter.
We can do that internally, though.
Yeah, I just want to be aware, the same budget really doesn't always mean the same budget.
Okay, good comment, thank you, Jane. Anybody else?
You can never use the same budget in reality.
Correct.
Can y'all hear me?
Loud and clear.
Sure.
I'm sorry.
How you doing? Welcome. Okay, would y'all like to talk about then some dates that you would like to offer for anyone to come in and talk about the budget with us? That's one of the purposes of the meeting today, is just so we can get this teed up to figure out how to file our budget by the deadline on the last day and know what the rate is and what the total impact will be.
But I think it would need to be soon, a couple of, maybe later this week.
Okay. We need 72 hours to post it. We're here at Monday at 10 o'clock. We could do it Thursday, if I can get the information to Jill as quickly as possible. We could do it at 1 o'clock on Thursday. Does anybody have any conflicts with 1 o'clock on Thursday?
There's something else that too.
That's today. Didn't that committee thing today?
Tomorrow. Thursday.
So Thursday, the 13th, I want to do it at 1. Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay. Stephen, 1:30?
Yes,
Martin?
yes, sir, sounds good.
Martin? 1:30?
If I'm alive, yeah, I'll be there. if I'm alive, you know.
That would be the same for all of us, wouldn't it?
We hope
Good Lord with it.
we hope you're here.
Okay.
I've got another joke, but I ain't gonna say it.
Oh, why not? Okay. So, we are going to post for a workshop. You want to call it a budget workshop, to invite anybody that wants to come and talk to about the budget. True? Okay. And that's going to be 1:30 on Thursday. And here, if it's available, okay. If not, we'll have to see.
Hey, Judge, is there some way that we could get some type of microphone or central location when someone else is speaking? It's very hard to hear when you're on the line, what they're saying.
Sure.
Like Lynette's hard to hear, Bubba's hard to hear, it's a lot of things.
Okay. Very good. So it sounds like you're going to participate via conference call.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. My wife is still taking care of positive COVID patients, and I'm going to be responsible for spreading that around anymore.
I told you to get you.
Okay. So anything further for this workshop? If not, is there a motion? Thanks.
Motion.
There's a motion in 2 seconds, 2 motions in a second. All in favor, aye. Okay, thank you. We will get on that and get that. All right.
I don't know.